Nick here with more Dark Souls, and for today's episode we're going to be talking about 10 common overlooked rules. And I think this particular episode is going to be very good for people that are just starting the game, but if you are already someone that plays the game a lot, maybe you might not know about some of them, or you might also overlook them. So the first one is about what happens with health and stamina once you finish an encounter. Because a lot of people came to this game based on the video game series, people sometimes assume that you just like all the health you lost and the stamina you lost, like you keep, and then you keep playing with those with that damage that you have taken from a previous encounter. And that's not true. Actually, once you finish an encounter, you should remove all health, all the damage you took, and also all the stamina that you have accumulated with your character. And then you're ready for another encounter. The second one is for stamina. Whether you succeed or you fail on a stamina roll, you always have to spend one stamina cube. Doesn't matter what happens, you spend it. And then you can move or not if you want when you do the dodge. But you always have to spend it. The third one is about weapons and armor upgrades. There's a common misunderstanding of people saying that like you can't remove any upgrades for armor or for weapons at any time. Some people, they just remove them anyway. So what the rulebook says is that you cannot remove weapon or shield upgrades at any time. So if you have spent one of your upgrades on it, that's it. You cannot remove them. But if you have an armor upgrade, you can remove and change it to another one, or just simply remove it. You just have to go back to Blacksmith Andre, and you can do it at any time. The next one is a rule about push. So a lot of people have trouble knowing what to do whenever there is an enemy with a push attack, and he starts the attack and the movement, and he is in the same node as the player. If the enemy has a push move and he is in the same node as a player character, what you do first is you push the character without taking any damage, and then the enemy is gonna move. And then when he gets in your node, then he's gonna do the damage and the push, and then the character can get pushed again. Next one is about the lucky token. Contrary to the potion and the character ability, you can actually unflip the token if you use it during combat. You just have to go back to Blacksmith Andre, and you pay 1 soul to flip it back. The next one is something that when you're starting the game, it's something that people always have questions about, which is what happens when I have an enemy that has a ranged attack and I have a barrel or a tombstone in between the enemy and the player character. Tombstones and barrels don't block at all ranged attacks. The only thing that they do is blocking movement. Next one is dashing through encounters. If you're playing the campaign, you can actually skip encounters. So what you have to do is, as soon as you do the setup for the encounter, take the enemies, do the attack for each enemy or the movements for each enemy, then take your player characters and move them to the other side in which you want to dash to. Once that's done, you skip the encounter. But any damage or stamina spent by the attacks that you just received, you are gonna have to keep them, like you don't reset them like you would do normally. Next one is about condition tokens. Whenever a player character or an enemy receives a poison, a frostbite, and a stagger token, at the end of their activation, those tokens get removed. The only exception to that is bleed. And to finish this episode, we have 2 more which are related to mini-boss and boss encounters. The rules for leap. Whenever a boss decides to leap, you should never rotate the boss towards the character that you're going to be leaping into. You should just move the boss from where he is without changing the facing straight to the node where he should be leaping into. And the last one is for boss movement whenever the boss is moving towards a character. You don't just point the front arc towards the character. So what you're doing is you're always making the boss rotate towards the closest node to the node of the player's character. So what this means is if you have to do 2 moves, for example, and I'm 2 nodes away, he's gonna turn towards this node or this node because they are the closest, and then the boss is gonna go and do the same thing next. If the character's node is close to the boss, then of course you can just rotate it towards that character. Otherwise, you keep repeating the same thing. So that's it for today's episode. If you have any other rules that you would like me to clarify, or you would like me to discuss a little bit further, just leave a comment below and I will be working on another video about them as well. So thank you guys for watching and see you next time.